What is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube trucking community? Sean Cahill and Christian Brother Trucker coming at you tonight with a video. And tonight I got a great question that I wanted to address. It's not a short answer. The question was, can you log off duty while being live loaded or unloaded? So I figured I would make a video and go into detail because this is not a simple answer, because it's not a simple question. So, in order to break this down, I have to kind of describe DOT hours and service regulations, definitions of on-duty, off-duty, and the type of vehicle that you're driving, whether you have a day cab or a sleeper, and what the sleeper berth provision does for you as a driver, and how you can work the system in the right way in order for you to be able to log sleeper berth when you're being live loaded or unloaded. I have ran this by WyoDOT or Wyoming DOT. I have had several discussions with the Wyoming DOT about this particular subject, and he pulled up the law, he pulled up the definitions, and we talked about it, and I got clarification. So let's break it all down so that it makes perfect sense for all you new drivers out there that are going to be running your logs. Make sure that you're running your logs correctly. But I'm also going to give you my advice. Take it or leave it. Probably don't want to follow it, because, you know, if you follow my advice and get in trouble, then it's on me. But unless I give you a disclaimer and say, do it your way, but I'm going to give you all the information so that you know what you're doing. Okay, so what is the definition of off-duty? Off-duty is when you set the parking brake, shut the truck off, and you are free from any responsibility of the truck. You are free to go and do whatever you want. You basically are what is known as clocked off, and you can disassociate from your vehicle. Basically, this is for the local drivers that drive day cabs, that don't have the sleeper berth provision. Off-duty means that you're stepping away from the truck and you're free to go and do whatever it is that you want to do on your personal time. On-duty is for fueling, drop and hook trailers, paperwork, and any time that you are attending a vehicle that is being loaded or unloaded. Now, this is the important part that DOT will try to trip you up on, because on-duty time, anytime you are attending a vehicle being live loaded or live unloaded, basically what they're saying is that if you're attending that vehicle, then by law you're supposed to be on duty. There's also, it goes into more detail. It says that if you are attending a vehicle that is being loaded or unloaded, or if you are on the dock assisting in any way, or if you're counting freight or assisting, securing, or anything else of a load, you are considered doing work, and so therefore you need to log that as on duty. Now, anybody that's been doing box trucking for a long time that runs a sleeper berth, the sleeper berth is a provision that you can use in order to get your required off-duty sleeper berth combination time, because you are required as an OTR driver under the sleeper berth provision to get at least no less than 8 hours of sleeper berth plus 2 hours of, or up to 2 hours of sleeper berth. Sorry, we got tripped up on that one. 8 hours of sleeper berth plus a combination of 2 hours off duty, or a total of 10 hours in the sleeper. So you have to have 10 hours of off duty time, but can be 8 hours of sleeper with 2 hours of off duty, for a total of 10. So when you pull into the shipper and you are checking in and they tell you to back up to the dock, this is where interpretation comes into play. And there's a couple of ways that we can interpret this. There's a couple of ways that we can talk about doing this. But bottom line is that it all depends on what the shipper says to you and what facilities are available at the shippers and receivers. All right, so scenario one is you pull in, you back up to the dock, you go in and you check in, or you check in and then back up to the dock, whatever the case may be. They tell you to back up to the dock and we will call you when we're done. Okay, so what this means is that you are basically in standby, and that if you are still connected to the vehicle, then according to the DOT regulations, you are still attending a vehicle that is being loaded or unloaded. Because for some weird reason they think that there's an imaginary line right here that separates, you know, if my butt is in this seat, then I'm on duty. If it's back there, then I'm on sleeper. But because your vehicle is a combination vehicle of tractor and trailer, trailer's being loaded, so you're attending a vehicle that's being loaded. Now, here's the way out. Folks, pay attention. So as soon as you back up to the dock, you go into on duty, and then in the annotations or in the notes, you put dolly down, disconnect. Because as soon as you dolly down and disconnect, you are no longer attached to the trailer that's being loaded, and now you are no longer a combination vehicle, so you are no longer attending a vehicle that is being loaded. The other way that you don't have to log on duty is if you go off duty, there has to be a trucker lounge or a waiting area or something outside of the truck to where you can go and sit in that waiting area or driver's lounge while the truck is being loaded, because you are your butt is not sitting in the truck. So if we're going to go into literal, how do we literally get out of this situation, or have practical ways that we can show that we're not falsifying our logs or lying about what we're doing, first way is to, in your logs, go on duty, and in the notes put dolly down, disconnect, and then sleeper. And then when they're done loading, they call you on the phone, they say come get your paperwork. You go in and get your paperwork, you come back out to the truck, you go on duty, reconnect, or drop and hook. Either way, you need to notate something in the logs that shows that when you went into the sleeper berth, you dollied down, disconnected, or drop and hook. And then when you did the paperwork and hooked back up, you notated that in the logs as well. So that is the way that you can legally log sleeper berth, is if you separate tractor and trailer and you are no longer attending a vehicle that is being loaded or unloaded, because you are no longer a quote-unquote combination vehicle that's being loaded. The reason why you're able to do this is because if the shippers tell you that they're going to call you on the phone, then basically you are on call and you can go into the sleeper and go to sleep, and when the phone rings, then basically you wake up and you go in and get your paperwork, then you go back on duty once they call you. That's my understanding of it, and this was, like I said, I had a conversation with the Wyoming Department of Transportation about this, about the FMCSA rules, and those are literally the only two ways that you can legally log off duty, is if you're in a driver's lounge and they say that they'll call you on the phone, or disconnect and go to a staging area. By disconnecting from the trailer, you can log off duty now, or sleeper berth. Now, here's where it gets a little sticky and a little tricky, because if you say the wrong thing or certain words come out of your mouth, then DOT can write you up for falsifying your logs. If you go into the shipper and they say back up to the dock, and then when you get a green light, come back in, that's where they can get you and say, well, you were in the driver's seat waiting on the light to turn green, you were attending a vehicle that's being loaded or unloaded. So if they say those words to you, you know, you can do one of two things. You can either ask the shipping or receiving department, hey, can I give you my phone number? And you can give me a call when it's done. That relieves you of having to watch a dock light and be up front in this seat attending a vehicle. So because of that description in the DOT book, that's the way it works. So that's why I said it's not a simple yes or no answer. Those are the only ways that you can log sleeper berth with those provisions being met, and those are the only ways that you can log off duty, again, when those stipulations are being met. So you have to meet certain stipulations, and you have to notate your logs the proper way. And when you're questioned by DOT, you need to make sure that you specify that if you went into sleeper berth, that you dollied down, disconnected, and went to a staging area. Now, where did you stage the truck? It doesn't matter if you stage the truck 3 feet in front of your trailer. It doesn't matter. What matters is dolly down, disconnect, stage. Sleeper. That's how you do it. That's how you do it legally. That's how you cover your butt. That's how you don't get in trouble. There are certain DOT officers out there that will try to trip you up on this, and certain ones don't care. I've been out here for 10 years, and they have never questioned my logs when it comes to my use of sleeper berth. Anytime you're at a shipper, you back up to the dock, you set both your parking brakes, you're locked into the dock. As soon as you cross that line going back to the sleeper berth and they say, we'll call you on the phone, that relieves you from any responsibility of working the load, counting the load, being responsible for the load. And once you cross that sleeper berth line, you are in the sleeper berth getting your rest. That is what the sleeper berth provision is for. Now, if you get a DOT officer that wants to split hairs with you, then you tell them, oh, well, you know, the best way to do it is to make sure that you're annotating your logs correctly and that you're putting the right things in the logs before you go into sleeper. Me personally, I don't do it that way. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it that way. I've just never had any problems, and I've been out here for 10 years and haven't had a log violation, at least in the last 5 years I've been driving. Back in the day when I was on paper logs, I got a couple of logbook violations, but that's because my logs weren't current and I forgot to draw a line. But we don't have to do that anymore. Everything's electronic now. So, if you found this video to be helpful and you like this video, please like and subscribe and share. And as always, thanks for watching, and God bless you all.